Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It is Thursday. We have 5 baseball games to talk about here on this early slate. If you're looking for late slate analysis, make sure you guys jump on over to the Fantasy Fix podcast, DB 730. Dan Bach will have the late game analysis for you. If you are wondering where that is, just go to the Roto Grinders page. At the top, just click podcast, and you'll see both of these podcasts there every day. So make sure you guys are checking that out. And Dean, it's a short slate, so I had to bring you on, right?
Yeah, because I yap so much. But even I can't find anything to talk about in this absolutely gross, hideous 5-game slate. It's going to be hard to make some endorsements, but I guess we'll make it happen. We're going to plow on through. But and you mentioned Dan has the night slate. The night slate's just as awful. It's like a sequel to a terrible movie. That's the 2 slates we're looking at today.
So, looking at this slate, I think the one endorsement we can do is don't play cash games.
Yes. Especially if you're playing on like a fantasy draft, you got to roll 2 starting pitchers. We're going to trust 2 starting pitchers in this 10-game slate. I'm sorry, it's a 5-game slate, but there's 10 arms, and I guess I don't know. Can I trust one arm? We'll talk about it. I feel okay about a couple of them, but yeah, it's not going to be pretty. We're going to plow on through, but I'm not going to give the most best of endorsements as we go.
All right, if you guys haven't checked out fantasydraft.com, they sponsor the podcast Monday through Friday. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you guys head on over there, check them out, use promo code GRINDERS. That way you get incentives here at Roto Grinders for Fantasy Draft for free for a year, and you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600. Deposit bonuses are disappearing more and more, so make sure you guys are taking advantage of this deposit bonus, especially if you're checking out this site and plan on playing there. Again, at least 1 or 2 messages a week like, hey, Stevie, I just tried out Fantasy Draft, and I'm already winning over there. So make sure you guys are checking that out. They try to make it very level playing field, and it's always fun to try a different site that really doesn't have, the flexibility is just insane. Like infielders, outfielders, utilities, it's just awesome.
You're not going to be playing a catcher tomorrow, I'll tell you that much.
You're not. You're right. Day game after night game will be interesting to see some of the catchers that they roll out there. All right, let's start it off, Dean. I know we want to talk about this slate so much. Minnesota at Cleveland. Mike Clevinger, Hector Santiago, the newly acquired Hector Santiago for Minnesota. Any interest here in these 2 guys?
No. Well, no. Clevinger he's not been like horrendous. At least in the minor leagues, he's been okay. A cup of coffee in the majors has not been very good. We're looking at, as far as the line, Minnesota's a plus 140 in this game. Is that what I'm seeing? Minnesota's plus 140? Is that correct?
They don't like Clevinger in Vegas today.
Yeah. Wait. Well, but Clevinger pitches for Cleveland. He's a favorite over Santiago plus 140?
Oh, I read it the wrong way.
Did I write this down wrong? Or is that correct?
Oh, I'm pulling it back up now because I might have looked at it wrong too.
That doesn't make sense if Clevinger's a minus 130 favorite. I understand Cleveland's a better team, but Santiago is certainly a stronger arm. This is a hell of a start to the podcast, by the way.
No, this is a great start. This is what everybody listens for. Like, we might have a change of thought here. Yeah, I'm seeing Clevinger as a favor here.
That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Very weird, but okay, so he's going to get run support, right? Cleveland Indians against lefties is kind of a thing, right?
Rajai Davis is going to be leading off, I imagine. Gotta love Rajai. He's 3.5K. That price is pretty fair. Don't mind it at all. Mike Napoli, if you're deciding between Napoli and Santana at first base, I prefer Napoli. He just absolutely annihilates the left-handers. 3.7, that price is pretty fair, so I think that's an excellent play as well. Do we have to give a deeper look at Clevinger? Again, there's only 10 pitchers. These are the 2 we're talking about. I'm not terribly enthused about Santiago. Santiago, to me, is just very much just an average pitcher. I guess he becomes a little bit more interesting in a 5-game slate, but we talked about Cleveland. Cleveland's a pretty good offense. They're a pretty strong favorite in a game that has a 9 over-under. And the ballpark is not nearly as pitcher-friendly one may think, especially for left-handers. I know, of course, Santiago is a lefty, so it's a little bit tricky. But Cleveland's one of the best offenses on this slate, are they not? Like top 3 or so.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely a top 3 offense. And I think that we need to note, it'd be interesting to see where Brandon Guyer hits for Cleveland here. Newly acquired Brandon Guyer from the Rays. He's mashing left-handed pitching this season. He could get a good lineup spot and be really sneaky because people aren't used to him being in this lineup.
Yeah, if he hits near the top of the order, he's in line for at least 2 hit by pitches.
At least. 2 hit-by pitches and a home run. I'll take it.
Doesn't he have like 22 in the year or something silly like that? It's absurd.
Well, when a righty comes in, he has to, stay in the lineup somehow.
Just dives across the plate.
Yeah, like his splits are just insane. He's batting under 200 against righties, but he's batting over 340 against lefties this season.
So does he get swapped out? How does that lineup go? Because obviously they have Naquin. Rajai makes a lot of sense for his lefties. Geyer's a guy who probably comes out when a righty's in there, I imagine. Is there a pinch hit risk is what I'm asking.
You would have to think that Chisenhall gets the day off and maybe, he pinch hits against a righty later in the game.
Yeah, that would make sense. Are you on this Max Kepler train? I'm not a believer. I dug into his minor league numbers. I know he's been really awesome this year, and he's young. He's still developing and all that. But if you look at his minor league numbers, over 1,700 career bats in the minor leagues, 35 homers. In the majors, which is supposedly, in theory, more difficult, just over 200 at bats, and he's got like 16 homers. There was 100 doubles also thrown in as far as the minor leagues. He's still 23, 24. He's still developing, but I'm not totally convinced his power is legit. It's not sustainable. That's what I'm saying.
You don't remember our podcast last week where you said Max Kepler was a fraud and he went out and hit a home run the next night and I said he was a good player?
Well, clearly I'm the fraud.
No, I've been talking about Max Kepler for a month, and I still think he's a good play. Like, as long as the guy is hot, I'm going to continue to play him. Why not?
Well, because the numbers are lying to us, and now, like, I don't want to say he's becoming this play. Like, his numbers are ridiculous. The power numbers, I don't know how really are. Again, he's still developing. He's still young. He's 23, 24. Maybe he turns into something legit. He's supposed to be a decent prospect, but, I mean, it's somewhere in the middle, obviously. You can't keep this pace up. But at 3.7, I just can't see myself paying that price. I mean, sure, in a tournament, I suppose, but it doesn't make any sense for cash game. But that said, we basically said at the top of the show, me being the cash game du jour, I'm not playing cash games. No, it's just gross.
Yeah, the thing about Kepler, like, we keep saying, like, recency bias, what's his ownership going to be? I played him tonight and, on Wednesday night, and he was 11% owned in the tournaments on FanDuel. Like,
too high.
That's not too high. He scored 22 points.
You're pointing to the scoreboard? Really? That's what you're doing?
Yes, I'm pointing to the scoreboard. All right. We talked about this game a lot. Is there anybody else from Minnesota that you might look at here against Clevenger?
I mean, Sano is 3.5. I mean, he's interesting, right?
Oh, yeah. We're looking at Clevenger's really small sample size. He struggled with righties this year.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose we can give him a look. I mean, the power is legit. Of course, the power is better in Cleveland as far as for left-handers. But when Sano gets a hold of it, it doesn't really matter what ballpark he's in. It's going to go. Besides that, I mean, that's basically what I'm at. Can we just have a solitary tier for Nunez? I really miss Nunez in this lineup.
All right.
Pour some out for him.
Tier happened. Moving on.
And the Giants are just wasting him. Let's bat him ninth behind Bumgarner just for fun. Sure. But whatever. All right, we can move on.
Kansas City at Tampa, Drew Smyly, Ian Kennedy. Is Ian Kennedy in play here?
No, Smiley's in play.
Why is Kennedy not in play?
I guess he is too because, I mean, of course, we know Tampa. They hit a lot of home runs as a group on the season at least, and they strike out a lot too. So I guess there's some upside there. Kennedy, we know, has had some issues with giving up some homers. Smyly as well. I think Smiley's giving up a share of homers as well. So yeah. It feels like a game like there's going to be a fair amount of strikeouts, relative to the slate, obviously. There's not like a Jose Fernandez going. But I would roster Smyly before Kennedy. Am I wrong in that?
I think it's going to see how the morning plays out for me. Like, I want to see who everybody's on real quick before I make that decision because I'm thinking tournaments, and I think Kennedy's going to be low-owned, and Tampa coming off of a massive game last night. I will say I got so excited when Kevin Kiermaier was in the 2 spot that I think I put him in almost every single one of my FanDuel lineups, and he scored 43 fantasy points. Oh, yes.
You're going to break a record for pointing to the scoreboard because I had 0 Kiermaier.
Pointing at the scoreboard again. But, yeah, I think both these pitchers are viable tournament options. I'm not playing cash games on this slate.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. If you're going to rank the 10 pitchers in the slate, these are probably – I want to say 2-3 for me maybe. I think it's 2-3. I'm not exactly sure. They're in the top 5. They're on the Family Feud board. Yeah,
if we're talking FanDuel where you have to have a win, I think they are probably 3-4.
Yeah, and we'll talk about our guys soon enough, but I think And again, you'll see the names. The number one is not number one because he's a strong play. It's just because you have to rank somebody number one. But we'll get to that soon enough. As far as the sticks, though, I think Dickerson goes yard. How about that? Is that happening?
I wouldn't hate that. I think that's an interesting play. Brad Miller, man, like what is he drinking right now? Because like this is not Brad Miller from last year.
Yeah, he's he's been pretty solid. What is he at? Like 18, 19 home runs now these days. Just banged one out on Wednesday night. And for a shortstop to get that kind of power, especially to have that kind of power access on a 5-game slate, where who are the rest of the shortstops again? Well, Lindor, we just kind of skipped over. He's certainly in play. Cozart's been hurt. And then Diaz is on the DL. There's not a lot to pick from. I guess we'll talk about Crawford soon enough, but shortstop is an extremely thin position. But, yeah, sure. I think Miller is absolutely in play tonight.
If Kiermaier's in that 2 spot, I think he's in play as well. You want the lefties against Ian Kennedy. He struggles with he has a massive hard contact rate. He gives up a lot of home runs to lefties. So, yeah, pay attention to the lefties in the Tampa lineup. I don't think this is a slate that I'm going to pay up for Forsythe or Longoria here.
I think it's 26 home runs in the season for Kennedy. That seems like a lot.
That's insane, man.
So, yeah, and I think that if you're going to wager, if you had to pick one guy in Tampa, I think it's going to be Dickerson.
All right, well, then I'm going to do my first fantasy draft play and say Kevin Kiermaier is my first fantasy draft play that I'm going to target here at 6,300 over on draft. And I'm just going to go ahead and segue right into the Kansas City side. And under 8K, Lorenzo Cain is just in an excellent spot here against Drew Smyly.
Yeah, we know he's best versus lefties, but like he hasn't done anything since he's come back. It's nice to see that he ran. He still won a couple bases, so it's good to know that he's into the game and enthused enough that he can actually run on the bases and try to swipe a bag, not necessarily going through the motions. And we are going to play him. Of course, you're going to play him against a lefty. I suppose. I mean, the ballpark stinks, but he's used to that when he plays in Kansas City as well, as far as for hitting. But what was the price you said he was on draft?
He's under 8K. He's at 7,800.
That's pretty reasonable. I'm not going to yell at you. It's okay.
I wasn't saying he was a fantasy draft play. I was just segueing into the Royals. I think Cain's in play. Outside of Cain, maybe – I don't know if Salvador Perez catches here. He might. He's a machine. He's
the one guy that they're going to definitely run him. Whoever signs the next contract for Salvador Perez, he's going to dip like Carlos Ruiz. It's going to be a rough, quick fall because he catches too many games. He probably is going to catch the next day. Who knows? But they should definitely give him a day off.
Anybody else that you like here from Kansas City?
No, I don't like Kansas City. That's why I think that's why I like the pitcher. I'm on Smyly a little bit, and I'm on a former Tampa pitcher. Spoiler alert, going forward.
One thing I do want to note, Kansas City did recall Billy Burns. They sent him to AAA when the trade happened. He's already been recalled, so he might crack the lineup. I think he had an at-bat, pinch hit at-bat, so pay attention to that. I don't even know if he's in play here, but who knows?
Billy Burns. I don't know. I'm thinking of that Johnny Cash song now for some reason. That's what pops in my head whenever I see the name Billy Burns. But there you go. Please, by all means, move on.
St. Louis at Cincinnati, Brandon Finnegan, Mike Leake. Am I crazy for thinking Leake is a top 2 pitcher here on FanDuel?
Oh, boy. I mean, I guess maybe if you want to load up on bats a little bit, it gives you an extra bat or two just because there's a significant price dip.
Should get the win too, right?
In theory, yeah, I'd imagine we'll talk to Sticks, of course, for St. Louis in a second. They're well positioned against Finnegan. Finnegan's just not very good. It is worth noting, though, I've been saying this the last couple of days, and everybody's kind of laughs at me. The bullpen for Cincinnati, I know this is not a rousing endorsement, has not been as dreadful as it once was. It's improved.
Yeah, we've been talking about that on the podcast the last couple of days, too. It's not the same bullpen.
Yeah, but people are like, well, it kind of had to by default. Well, sure, I suppose, but it's been okay for like the last 2 months, actually. Like it's not – I mean, the overall season numbers are still bad, but, and when they throw out Jumbo Diaz, it gets ugly pretty quickly. But, Iglesias is awesome. They have some – the arms are a little bit better there as far as Cincinnati. Iglesias is just particularly brutal because he can go 2 innings. When he goes like 7-8 and then Sangrani gets the 9th, that's like, oh, my God, this is not – what happened to my stack against Cincinnati? But Yeah, I suppose you can play. What are you expecting out of Leak? You want him to grab the W, go 5 or 6, give up 2 or 3 runs, and hopefully he gets 5 Ks. Is that what you want?
I hope. Like, realistically on this slate, I think 30 fantasy points from your pitcher is not a bad thing.
Yeah, if you can lock that in, I think you just take it and just hope for the best as far as the bats, right?
And I'm not saying that I'm not going to have a Cincinnati stack against him on a different team. Like, it's just one of those slates where I think you could stack against every pitcher on the slate.
So how would you stack that Cincinnati stack?
We would go Votto, Duvall, Schebler, and
are you a Schebler truther?
Man, Cardi kind of sold me on him yesterday.
What did he say? I didn't hear it, but I like Schebler again. I said this before. Like he reminds me of Schwarber in name and like stature and like power. So just by proxy, I like him.
Well, we were talking on the podcast yesterday morning that he got sent down. Obviously, he was competing with Adam Duvall at the beginning of the season. Adam Duvall won the spot, obviously, but when we look at it, like his minor league numbers when he got sent down, he was crushing the ball in the minors. So, like, it's interesting. He's definitely shown power, just about every at bat.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got to get a hold of it when he does, though. Like you saw the walk off the other day, that ball was just absolutely annihilated. It was mauled. The power is legit. It's unreal. And he's still a cheapie, I imagine, right? I know on Wednesday night he was basically a flat out punt. Yeah, he's 2K. I like that as a cheapie. He's probably going to crack the lineup. He's probably going to bat 6th. Don't mind that at all against Leak, who's not a guy that's necessarily going to – he's not going to throw it past him most likely. On the other side, though, I think this is my favorite bat in the entire slate. I think it's Piscotty.
Yeah, I'm all over Piscotty again. I played him last night. Why not play him here tonight? And I can't believe you didn't mention him, but I'm going to go ahead and just say it. My second fantasy draft play here on this slate is your man, Jerkstore.
Yeah, well, the Jerkstore called, Stevie, and they're running out of you. Yeah, I love – he's been absolutely hot. He's been on fire. I think 9 home runs since the All-Star break. I actually rostered a bunch on Wednesday night. He kind of Jerkster kind of let me down, but I'm not going to hold it against him. And he hit second against the left-hander on Wednesday night. And if he grabs that 2 spot once again, Matheny tends to work things around. From game to game at St. Louis lineup's kind of hard to predict. You never really know who's going to be in there. But I'd imagine maybe like a guy the silent H, Johnny Peralta, might get a rest. I'm curious to see what he kind of rolls out. Day game after a night game. Yadier might get a rest as well. But if the Jerkstore cracks the top 5, yeah, for sure, he's definitely in play.
I want to note something else. If Yadi gets a day off, Billy Hamilton is in play as well.
Oh wow, yeah, sure. I don't know how does Leak hold on runners. That's something I need to dig into because I'll be honest, I did not.
Rosario is not very good at throwing people out.
Oh, he's going to kill it no matter what, basically.
Yeah, so Leak might be good at holding people on, but from what I remember, Rosario doesn't have a good.
And we're good with Holiday. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Piscotty is 3.5 on FanDuel. Holiday's 3.7. Like, Piscotty makes so much more sense. Like, and it doesn't make any sense why Holiday's more expensive. So you want to be cute, you want to be different. The ownership difference, unless somebody, of course, is just stacking St. Louis and saying, give me four guys from the Lou. Piscotty is just a much better play, and he's cheaper. So if you want to play the old game theory deal, I guess you can roll out some Holiday at 3.7.
Yeah, Holiday would probably be the 3rd or 4th outfielder that I would play here. I would play Brandon Moss again. I talked about him yesterday. It's the same kind of scenario here, lefty, and Moss is just hot. So this is a great ballpark for Moss, and I'm going to go back to the well here. I thought he was an excellent tournament play yesterday, and I think the same thing again here today.
And we know about that bullpen. It's definitely heavily right-handed. They're just one lefty. Last I checked with Tony Cingrani. So basically, Cingrani is going to pitch unless he needs a work day. He's only going to pitch if they're in position for the save. So maybe he gets a couple lefty matchups in like the first inning and the 4th inning, however that may work. But he has a couple matchups that are prime on layaway when they get to the bullpen.
And if they start him against the lefty, they're not going to pinch hit him against the lefty later in the game either. So Moss, if he's in the lineup, is going to play the whole game.
Correct. I would assume so.
All right, let's move on. San Francisco at Philadelphia. Matt Moore, Vincent Velasquez. Sell me on Matt Moore.
Well, I know he has not been particularly great this season. I understand. I know he's given up a fair amount of home runs as well. But he's in the ballpark shift, right? He's going from the AL to the NL, so now the ballpark shift, yeah. Philadelphia is a tough ballpark to pitch in, but just generally speaking, National League teams not as imposing as American League teams. And he has the DH is gone. Now he has a pitcher to pick on. I imagine Vincent Velasquez is not as good as the standard DH that he happens to work against. And the Phillies in the entire Major League Baseball, there's 30 teams, right? They're 29th when it comes to the old WOBA, the WRC plus against left-handers. That's not good. That's bad.
Yeah, and I think we need to note one thing. Like, Matt Moore has won 4 of his last 6 games, and he was really pitching well coming up to this trade. He's pitched at least 6 innings in 10 straight games. So as far as floor goes, I think he's probably the safest option, and it pains me to say that because he could easily go out and walk 5 guys and be gone in 5 innings. But I think this is a good spot for him here. And, we just saw Bumgarner get shelled by the Phillies. Cueto not pick up the win against the Phillies. Like, I don't see a lot of people playing Matt Moore here.
Cueto was fine. He had 10 Ks. He just kind of ran into trouble in a couple innings near the end. Maybe they kept him out too long. I'm not really sure. There was a little bit of weird BABIP too, kind of a ground balls that could have very easily been double plays, but they just kind of found some holes. Look, I'm the chalk guy, right? I'm good at identifying it. I'm not enthused. I'm not excited at the prospect of rostering Matt Moore, but he seems like, just kind of looking at the slate, this is your best option. That's kind of where I would go. It's an 8 as far as the over-under, the early line. San Fran is only a minus 125 favorite, and that probably has to speak to the fact that Velasquez on the other end, he's a pretty solid pitcher, but I still think there's a decent chance that he grabs that W. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at. I mean, that's my rousing endorsement of Matt Moore. And again, there's a couple more names we'll throw out there, and I guess they're kind of sort of interesting, but he's number one on my Family Feud board. That's kind of it.
Vincent Velasquez on the other side of this game. It's a tough matchup here against the Giants. This lineup is very healthy right now. They're one of my favorite offenses in baseball because outside of Pagan being in that 2 spot, which we hope that Nunez or Panic kind of takes over from Pagan, 1 through 6 is really strong here for the Giants. And Vincent Velasquez is getting really close to his innings limit. So I think they're going to be really careful with him moving forward.
Yeah, there's no reason to push him because, Philly's going nowhere. He's a young arm. They're thinking about Velasquez 2 years from now, not 2 weeks from now or even tomorrow, basically. And the other part of it is San Francisco, they don't strike out at all, even though with Velasquez there is some strikeout upside in theory, but I don't think this is not the spot for it necessarily. And they're kind of pesky. And Velasquez is one of those guys that's not necessarily efficient. So you're lucky. When you roster Velasquez, you're begging for 6 innings. This might be a spot where he comes out like at 5 1/3, 5 2/3 when his pitch counts at like 90 and change, and he gives that 1 extra hit, a walk or something like that, because he can get wild too. If you look at his recent starts, 2, 4, 4, 2, 2. He's just never really clean as far as walking guys. And there's just the Giants are a team that they're not afraid to take walks. They're not afraid to just sort of hit a bunch of foul balls, the Aoki style. I don't think he lasts very long. I would take the under on 5 2/3 for Velasquez. I just don't think he sticks around long enough to consider rostering.
Yeah, and this bullpen a little banged up. I think the Giants are a top 3 stack here on this slate. Love all the lefties here against Vincent Velasquez. If Posey's in the lineup, he's always in play. Pence is always in play, but I like the lefties a lot here.
Well, it's weird because I don't really want to pick on Velasquez either, but like you said, the bullpen's pretty weak as well, so it's kind of hard to project that. Belt, I've been playing the last few days. I'm still tilting about Belt last night. Or tonight, depending on when you're listening to this, but he went right to the warning track, and that was really nice. But I had a lot of Belt. I digress. So we're okay with Belt at 3.7. Is that a fair enough? I mean, I think Napoli is just a better play, but I mean, Belt's fine if you want to be different.
Yeah, I like Belt more on Fantasy Draft. He's my 3rd Fantasy Draft play over on Fantasy Draft today. 7,600. You could play multiple first basemen, so you can get Napoli in, you can get Belt in. But Belt at 7,600, I'm going to continue to target him in these matchups at this ballpark. Yeah,
I mean, it's fair. I mean, obviously the ballpark upgrade is massive. Getting out of San Francisco, which is basically the worst ballpark for home runs in all of baseball, and Philly, a bit of a bandbox, obviously. So, yeah, for sure, he can definitely crank one out. You're not really getting a discount as far as the matchup because, like we said, there's 10 pitchers. We don't like many of them. As far as a skill set, Velasquez is top 2, top 3. But the Giants are just I like that lineup. I want to keep playing them. So I'm kind of torn. Posey, of course, the most talented catcher, taking the Playing today, well, presumably playing today. We're not really sure if he's going to play or not. 3-6 on FanDuel. That's fine, I suppose. You don't necessarily have to have it, but when you look at the catchers that are out there, there's like no opportunity cost if he doesn't play. I guess Vmart, we'll talk about him in a second, but who are the other Giants that pop for you? Are you playing Pence? Are you looking at a guy like?
I'm going to play Crawford, Pence, Posey. Just
okay.
Belt. I can easily get 4 or 5 guys, depending on where Nunez hits. Hoping they give Pagan a day off and they get Nunez in that 2 spot.
Yes, that will be fun. Make that happen.
Yeah, because you would think Pagan, he's a little older, day game after a night game.
I think that's a good call. I think that's going to happen. He's going to bat first or second. Put a call in the Bochy. Make it happen.
All right, I'll make that happen. I'll make that call right when we get off the podcast. Is there anybody here for the Phillies that you want against Matt Moore?
I mean, they're just terrible against lefties as a team, but I suppose as a one-off, you got Maikel Franco. He was dealing with that wrist injury, but he's playing through it. He's been banging out a few home runs of late. I think like 3 in his last 7 or 8 games or so. So the power is definitely there. And the price is very fair. 3-2 on FanDuel. I don't mind that price at all. Like I said, Moore is probably my favorite pitcher, but hey, this is what we're dealing with. And I think Franco, he just looks like a one-off. Is there anybody that's like kind of jumps off the page? Maybe an Altherr. If Altherr once again bats second or so, we've seen him at the top of the lineup against lefties. Don't mind that. Otherwise,
I think you could do like a 3-man here, couldn't you? Like Joseph out there and Franco. If you're not playing Moore.
Yeah, I'm with you. You can't be ambitious. Is there a 4th guy you can even consider or no?
Well, it depends on if Tyler Goodell's in the lineup and where he's hitting. He hits lefties good. He hits lefties well too.
All right, Tyler Goodell. He wasn't really on my radar.
That could be like your hedge stack, though. If you're playing a bunch of Matt Moore, like you have to have a hedge stack on this slate. I truly believe that.
I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that's even worth talking about. No, I think that pretty much does it. I think we're good.
Chicago White Sox, Detroit Tigers, Jordan Zimmerman coming off the DL to make a start here, and Jose Quintana. Oh, man. Like, these 2 pitchers are usually interesting, but do we go there here?
Well, for starters, Jordan Zimmerman, I don't know. I can't remember the last. He has not been interesting since, 1972. I think he threw a no-hitter against, was it the Marlins, 4 years ago or 3 years ago for when he was on Washington? Maybe he was interesting that night. Remember the left fielder, Doe, who made a diving catch in the last out?
I'm trying to remember that. No.
I'm getting a flashback. I feel like that happened. Maybe I'm combining people. I'm not sure. But somebody confirmed that on the Twitter machine. But at 9-5, what are we talking about? Jordan Zimmerman coming off the DL, his last time out as far as his rehab was only 4 innings. He doesn't strike anybody out. I can't imagine he's going to go beyond 6 unless he's just incredibly efficient. I just can't see even considering paying that price for him. It's just there's better options. There's better upside. Quintana on the other side is a better pitcher. He's got some strikeout stuff. But Detroit's obviously pretty imposing. I saw JD Martinez pinch hit Wednesday nights, and I'd imagine that means he's going to be back in the lineup on Thursday. So if Martinez is there, Castellanos, Miggy, Vmart, the usual suspects. It's a hard lineup to get through. So I suppose you can consider him for tournament, Quintana that is, but I'm not terribly enthused. For cash, I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, and me being a BVP guy, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in this lineup with an average over 300 against Quintana.
Oh boy, is it 3 for 10? What are we looking at?
Miguel Cabrera is 13 for 37. Victor Martinez is 15 for 36. Avilius is 10 for 28.
He's not going to play.
He played today against the lefty.
Oh, well, he needs a rest then.
Ian Kinsler, 12 for 39. Nick Castellanos, 9 for 29.
Wait, hold on. 9 for 29, no doubles, no triples, no home runs, 3 strikeouts. Come on.
Still over 300.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that. That's that means a good play. I don't like your stipulations.
All right, what about Miggy then?
Well, he's just really good at baseball, so sure.
And he is super El Fuego.
Yeah, he's been in Fuego for sure, but against lefties this year, again, you look at his career numbers and he's basically a neutral hitter, but he's been absolutely dreadful against lefties this year. Is that a thing, or is that just kind of an anomaly?
It equal out by the end of the year, I think.
You do? Because I think it's like I remember checking this not too long ago.
He just faced the lefty the other day though, and rocked him.
It was not. It was less. I think it was less than 10 extra base hits versus lefties this season, something like that. It was something silly.
He faced the other day, and he rocked a lefty just like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying that you should panic about it. I'm with you. Like I don't really care because he's Miguel Cabrera and he's been the best hitter in baseball for the last 10 years. So I guess you can argue some Pujols or something like that. But whatever, like the top 3, top 4 hitters in baseball the last 10 years. So I don't care. I'll take the bigger sample over the smaller sample. And again, it's a 5-game slate. So yeah, sure, I'll roll out some Miggy.
I think Detroit stack is definitely in play here.
Yeah, JD Martinez. How is he? Is he like cheap anywhere? Just because he's coming back, he's 3.5 on FanDuel. That's pretty fair. What is he on draft?
He's 78. And how about me calling him as a home run play yesterday and getting a pinch hit home run? What's up?
Oh, come on! What? Really?
That actually happened, Dean.
I guess. Well, I mean, does that stand? Does that count? I guess because did you swap them out? What are the rules?
No, we don't play swap outs, so it counted.
All right, fair enough. I guess point to that scoreboard again. We're breaking that record.
I'm right there. I think this whole game could be a decent game stack, right? Like Zimmerman, he doesn't really scare me. Like this could be a really interesting game stack on a really small slate.
When is Jose Abreu going to hit his next home run? That's what I want you to predict.
Is he going to hit his next home run? I think that's the question that's fair, right?
What has it been?
Ever
like 5
going
weeks now or 4 weeks? It's something insane.
Yeah, but do we see? There's no power there anymore.
Why not?
I had no idea.
Not enough fly balls. Is it just like some bad luck? I basically stopped playing him. Like I kept saying, "Oh, look how cheap he is. Look how cheap he is." And then eventually I said, "You know what? No, you're cut off. That's it. We're done. We're breaking up. You have to show me something." And he's yet to do that. So right now we're on the rocks, me and Jose Abreu. It was a good run, though.
It was a pretty good run. Nobody knew about him a couple of years ago, and we got to play him for like the first couple of weeks without anybody knowing about him. It was good times, Dean.
Kinsler, I miss Kinsler for some reason, too. Of course, he's in the conversation as well, leading off there, presumably for Detroit. Curious to see how that lineup shakes out with presumably JD Martinez coming back. So I'm thinking that means like a guy like Michael Vilas is on the outs, but we'll see. Maybe he gets a day off. Maybe Upton gets a day off. But Upton, by the way, too cheap at 2.6 on FanDuel. That's just too cheap if he cracks the lineup.
That's going to wrap it up for the game-by-game breakdown. Let's play some home run derby, and I'll let you lead it off here.
Oh, sweet. Lock it up. Just put it in the scoreboard right now. Piscotty.
All right.
Matheny benches these guys. What if he doesn't play? Can I have an alternate?
If he doesn't play, you get a 0.
That's not cool.
I'm going to go Jerko. I'll take the risk with you.
Oh, I wanted the jerk store. Man. Okay, yeah. Dick Dong. Dickerson's going to bang one out.
All right. I'm going Miggy.
All right. I like that move. I like where your head's at. Let me see. Who's my next play? Oh, Napoli. That's it. That's happening too.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. Checkmate. Just concede.
Nope. Scott Schebler is my next one.
Oh, that's a good pick. I like that pick. That's strong. Way to close.
Oh, this is so much fun for this slate. At the end of the day, if you had to pick one pitcher, doesn't have to score the most fantasy points, but he's going to pick up a win on this slate, who would you take?
Well, you're not giving me any stipulations. I thought you're going to say like nobody above like 8K, which means like there's like no options. But
no, nobody over 10K is the rules, and there's nobody over 10K here.
Let's see. Who is going to grab the win? Oh, boy. I don't want to say Mike Leake, do I?
That's kind of who I was thinking.
I don't want to say that.
I figured you were going to say Matt Moore.
Matt Moore's going to win. There you go. That's happening.
Yeah, I figured that's where you were going to go. I'll go Leake. I do think those are probably the two safest picks for a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's a loose interpretation of safe, but sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like even Vegas semi agrees with us. Leak's a minus 150, and Matt Moore is a minus 120.
Yeah, I mean,
I still can't get over Mike Clevenger as a minus 148.
So they just think that Cleveland's just going to go nuts, apparently, as far as their offense.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Because the total in that game is 9, and they have the highest projected run total on the slate. Oh, second highest. St. Louis is 0.02 higher than Cleveland on the slate.
As far as the team total, it's like 5 and change?
No, for 493 and 495.
Oh, jeez. I was rounding up with the change. I was adding tax.
No tax. No tax weekend if you're school shopping for your kids. Just saying. Just saying. Dean, any final thoughts before we get out of here, my friend?
I think that'll do us. Yeah, I mean, this is just hold your nose when you're actually clicking the buttons and filling out your roster. Here, how about this? Temper your play. This is not necessarily the slate you want to go all in on.
Yeah, be very careful with this slate and the night slate. And I'm strongly considering Ricky Nolasco in the night slate. So that's my hot take.
Oh boy, I just kind of gave it a 1 over. But just the idea that Ricky Nolasco is like being strongly considered.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be a fun show tomorrow at 5:30. Tune in, Grinders Live. That's going to be good times.
All right, my friend. Thank you for joining us again. Good luck in your contest tonight, guys. And me and the Siege will be back tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
Holler!